Chris Yelland now is in the studio with us to look at the new problems which have arisen at Medupi power station. Chris, it seems the new normal is that there's a delay at Medupi.
Yeah.
What's the latest problem?
The latest delay that has been announced is that first synchronization of Unit 6 at Medupi is going to be delayed from mid-January to the end of February 2015. Now, you may remember it was scheduled to take place at the end of 2013. It was delayed to till the 24th of December 2014.
The minister said heads will roll if it's not done by 2013.
Exactly. And now we've just had an announcement after the 24th of December that it was delayed to the 15th of January. And yesterday another announcement that it delayed from the 15th of January to the end of February. And we certainly hope that will be the last delay because it's an important milestone along the way to delivering commercial power from this unit, which is currently scheduled in the middle of 2015, and these kind of delays could be pushing that date out still further.
Yeah.
Another delay. Can we ever believe anything that Eskom says?
Well, we kind of have to accept their good faith that they are giving us this information based on the best information they have at the time. But unfortunately, the reality is that every time they seem to give a commitment, whether it's that all is well and we shouldn't expect load shedding for the rest of this week, or whether it's the first synchronization at Medupi, we are seeing regular broken commitments. And this does not augur well for their credibility, unfortunately.
Again, one wants the bad news and maybe even make it worse than it is to prepare people. The blood, sweat and tears thing. I'm offering you the worst and now we're going to try and make it better. At least then we know.
I've been saying this for some time, that they seem to always overpromise and under-deliver. Now, I like optimism. We all like to be optimistic. But really the public is looking for realistic information, and even perhaps slightly pessimistic because they can then surprise us by over-delivering. But we're seeing exactly the opposite, constantly being let down by over-optimistic information.
Also, I think what emerged is perhaps an area of bad faith that we might not have thought before, and that is that up to the election and the 2010 World Cup, the story emerges of we must keep the lights on whatever the cost. And therefore maintenance that could have been done then, and maybe they should have had some load shedding then, wasn't done.
They have actually acknowledged that the keeping the lights on at all costs was in fact a political policy. It was, one can point to the elections, one can point to the World Cup. It was really critical in the politicians' minds that they should keep the lights on at all costs. And of course there always is a cost, and the cost is an economic cost. It was expedient at that time to rather bear the economic costs rather than the political costs before an election. The policy has now changed, and cynics would say, oh, it's because the elections are over. But actually, there are further elections taking place next year.
There's always an election
government
coming.
Elections, and now the policy is that we must accept that there is going to be load shedding at residential level, and this is of course amongst the voters, and these are local government elections. So I think the reality is starting to get through that you cannot defer maintenance forever. And put off the consequences of that deferment till another day. At some point it catches up with you and you start experiencing high levels of unplanned outages, and that's exactly what we're having now. If you don't service your car will break down in due course.
Chris, we literally have a few seconds left.
Certainly.
I just wanted to know, the consultation with industry, like the big mining houses, is that going well?
Well, Eskom repeatedly say that they're getting good levels of cooperation from large industry. Large industry are saying that, we've been bearing the brunt of all of this for many years. It's time for the domestic sector to also bear some of the brunt. The trouble is that the commercial sector in South Africa is deeply embedded in the residential sector. And in fact, the commercial sector has a high value add per unit of energy used. Its energy intensity is much lower. It produces more GDP per unit of energy used than the heavy industries. So in fact, the impact on the economy of load shedding at a residential and commercial level, which is what is happening now, is very significant because of this high GDP per unit of energy consumed, so that the impact on the economy is serious, even by doing domestic and commercial load shedding. Unfortunately, the two are embedded and it's hard to separate them.
Oh, we'll have to end it there. Not cheerful stuff. That was Chris Yelland, MD of EE Publishing.